Hey guys, and welcome to this video. I wanted to follow up a bit on the last video I put out and also share some of the messages and guidance that has been coming in over the last week. It has, for me, been a week of just retreating fully, just really needing to be in my own energy and really coming back to that sovereignty. There's so much clearing, there's so much dissolution happening, and also expansion. And it's not like it used to be for many, that it's one thing and then it's the next. It's like it's happening at the same time. There's so many layers to everything we're experiencing now, because we're becoming more and more multidimensional. So we have the capacity to expand and to let go and to step into new versions of ourselves and gain the awareness and receive downloads and like all of these things at the same time. We have the ability to. Now, for many physical bodies, it is intense, especially for the nervous system. This means that remembering and coming back to that sovereignty, remember that you are a sovereign being. Remember that your authentic truth holds your boundaries. So if you're actually staying true to yourself and you put that commitment to yourself and staying true to yourself as your first, if that's your first priority, your boundaries will also be there. When you find it difficult to be your authentic self, whether it's guilt or whether it's, all of these programs, try to find out which program is underneath here, which pattern. Then we start, finding the belief, finding the pattern, finding the program, because we're clearing program after program after program now. Also, and this is not only programs that were quote unquote negative and held us down, it's also programs that were helpful, but that with a more expanded awareness is no longer helpful for us. And so things we used to get help from, things we used to feel as a good thing, might also change. Be aware of that. Let yourself change. Let yourself explore. Let yourself expand. And let yourself just let go of the old programs, of the old beliefs, all the old ways, because it's all going to shift. It is shifting. Now, when it's a bit too much on the human sometimes, meaning the physical body and our mind trying to catch up with things, it's really important to being aware of that sovereignty and to nurture yourself. To rest when you need, to drink a lot of water. Being in nature is a number one priority for me, at least. It's really helpful. It's grounding. There's a lot of frequencies. When I'm lucky to meet wild animals, it's just amazing, and it's giving so much energy, and it's such a safe place to rest into. Also, Mother Earth is really, really helpful. Like, she's coming in meditations now in a whole different way. It's almost like embracing. It's not only that grounding, safe, sort of being held feeling. It's like she's actively coming up and embracing. And really resting into that, and resting into who you are, resting into your core, your light, and finding the strength there. And nurture yourself. Really focus on that. How can I best nurture myself now? How can I calm my system when I need it? Is it being in water? Is it going for a walk, it's not like you have to sit still or lay down or be inactive. You can be active and coming back to you. The point is whether you're present. It's all about presence. From which energy are you being active or resting, or like being aware of when we're trying to escape, avoid, numb, or just sort of suppressing or bypassing something, for example, and just really let things that are coming up, just let it be. It just is. It doesn't mean it's going to be that tomorrow or even in an hour from now, because things are changing so rapidly. But really nurturing yourself, really assisting the body, not from a victim state mentality, but from a loving, compassionate, type of mindset with the body. And really being aware of that heart and mind connection and coming into the heart space. Because there's so many, like I've been receiving messages on now that are starting to tap into emotions, feelings, things that might come up in the collective as things are intensifying. And then being too stuck with those emotions now is maybe not the most beneficial thing to do. Having the awareness of something is one thing, but be in the present moment. Take just what is right in front of you, what is in this moment right now. What do I need right now? Is it letting go of something? Is it just resting? Is it having a workout? Is it going for a swim? Is it no matter what it is, just ask yourself and come back to that. Because the guidance going forward, which is why a lot of people are sort of cocooning or retreating now, is what I've been receiving, is that for what's coming, it's like we're in a preparation phase. So it can feel, because things are intensifying and a lot of people are feeling that energetically, and we are being prepped for what is coming. Now that energy of being prepped can activate, fear, a sort of warlike energy, being in that fight and flight mode, which is not helpful for the body. So it's about having the awareness of what we are tapping into, what we are feeling, and have that awareness, but then calming the body, assisting the body in actually resting and opening our heart and coming back to ourselves instead of coming into that fear and chaos and being pulled out of our center. Because the place you find your strength, the place you will find your guidance in whatever you are experiencing and will be experiencing, is back in you, is in your core. And sometimes we have to shut other things out for a while to be really present, to really feel that when we're going through a lot of changes. Then also having the awareness that other people might need that. So when other people are closing off maybe, or needing to retreat a bit, or doing things in a different way, having compassion and respect for that, because they're going through the exact same thing as you are. But really coming out of too much of that mind and victim state if you're feeling the energies that are intensifying. Because what they're showing me is this about distractions that I talked about in the last video. If we get pulled out of our center. That's really how can I say this? What would be the best way to formulate it? You lose your strength if you're pulled out of your center. And it's so easily to go into either the victim state or the sort of just fighting, being against, without finding that inner balance and inner strength by being pulled out. And then we are just feeding that type of energy. So I've been shown two types of distractions now. One is personal distractions that are just like the mundane, normal things that are trying to distract you all the time. Use those every time that happens. When you're going to do something and there's something else catching your attention, there's something else suddenly coming up, there's all these types of things happening constantly now, in my experience. They say use those things to come back to you. Every single time you get thrown off or you get distracted, your attention is being drawn to something else, or this type of personal distraction is coming up, use that as a reminder of coming back to you. So you turn it around. That's a really good practice for being prepared, because that's what we need. We need to be centered in ourselves and finding that guidance. The more chaos we are experiencing in the external, the more we need that place in ourselves. And the more we can cultivate that, the stronger we are. The other type of distractions are when things are happening externally on the world stage. What I've said, and I think I mentioned that in the last video as well, is when something is happening or they are drawing your attention to something happening in the world, also then stay in your center and be aware of what is going on the other side. What are they taking the awareness off of? There might be going on something here and they want everyone to look here. So those are the two different guidances I've been receiving when it comes to distractions. The personal ones and the external ones. Staying present and being really aware of when we go into that victim mode, because we will receive many invitations into that. If we are pulled off of our center, we are much more easily pulled into the victim state. Your strength is here, always. Your guidance is in you, it's here, always. That's the most important thing to cultivate, to practice and to come back to all the time now. Being aware also, because they've been explaining me now a lot about different thought forms, like how it's almost like, everything like floating around in the air, and we can choose to engage or not to engage, because there are so many programs. It's almost like everything that is being released, everything we're reprogramming ourselves on, beliefs we are like throwing out, it's almost like all of this is sort of like floating around in a collective. Then if something is coming into your field, choose whether you want to engage with it or not. Know that it's not you. Know that you can choose. If it's something that has an emotional charge, that is a trigger, that is something that resonates within you on some level, find where it resonates and get that hook off. Because that's what draws it in. But there's so much floating around that when there's something that is not having that resonance or emotional charge for you, so it's not your own trigger, it's not the mirror part, choose whether you want to engage with it or not. You can say no. You can just let it, just ping pong it away. because there is a lot of it, and there are so many storylines, so many invitations we get now to find out, to is this true or is this true, and we get drawn into it. This is not saying that having the awareness of something isn't important, because it is. We need to see what is happening, we need to know what is going on, but feel into your own guidance as to how to navigate it, and don't lose that connection within yourself, no matter what is going on. Like, come back to you. Sometimes maybe you need to like shut things off a bit and then come back to you and gain that strength and be there, and then you can go out and you can start engaging with things again. Like, really having that, the first and foremost, like most important part, that part within you is really important. Self-doubt is a huge one going on collectively now, or those thought forms just floating around. If it hooks into you, find where it hooks in, and then throw it out, because it's not you. Those types of consciousnesses are easily accessible now, but remember that you have the choice whether you want to engage, connect into it. And the more you ground and come back, stay centered, as I probably said 10 times already in this video, you will feel in yourself intuitively from your heart, and not in the trying to figure out mind going off center, but really being in your heart, feeling your intuition, feeling is this. When you're in that space, it's much more easy to not get drawn into all of those sort of floating consciousnesses around. There is a lot of clearing happening in the spine. The reason why is that a lot of programming, a lot of the old fight, flight, all programs and belief systems, experiences, traumas, all these kind of things that have been experienced, stored in our system, is going with the nervous system into the spine, and it's sort of just anchored sort of in the spine, and a lot of that is clearing. And I received that also this, remember the symbolic meaning of this as well, that it's about straightening up, have a straight back, and meet what is coming from that place. The more that is clearing from your spine, the more straight, the more strong you're getting. And for the nervous system, really find your tools to calm down, to come back to you, and let yourself have the time and the space to do so. It's about what you prioritize, and that I will recommend to be a high priority. When it comes to the masculine and feminine, I've been shown that there's a lot of the masculines. Now, always, every person has both energies within. We have masculine and we have feminine in us. A lot of is what I've been receiving of the masculines now are being guided, sometimes maybe forced, into coming into their vulnerability, because that's where they will find their real strength, not that distorted masculine pushy type of so-called strength, but really coming back to the vulnerability, really feeling that. Because from that space, you are so much stronger. And I can say that I've also been observing, in masculines, that when they are in that vulnerable space, that strength that is sort of emitting out, even though I understand that's not the way it's felt being in it, there's a whole different type of strength. So for any masculine listening and going through that, remember that it's not a weakness. It's really where the strength is. It's really where it's emerging from. And it's where the more balanced energy is found. For the feminine, it's really about finding that strength within and finding her voice. It is, instead of trying to go into, like we've been so programmed to go into that more masculine energy in order to say something, in order to, like, we have to push, we have to be more like the masculine. It is finding that balance really in that feminine energy, really that softness, that nurturing energy, just in that, and coming back to ourselves and just be in that energy, and from there have the courage to really open, to really start speaking, to start finding the voice, to start, stop holding back. So it's about finding, for both, finding that balance and really start using both the masculine and the feminine within, in a coherent way, in a balanced way. And for the masculine, mainly what I've been shown now, by being vulnerable and finding the strength in the vulnerability, and for the feminine to find her voice, stop holding back and straighten up and find that courage from the feminine energy. Because then it won't be that energy of the masculine avoiding the vulnerability, because that's weakness, and the feminine either not voicing and being afraid, or going into the masculine energy more than what is natural to her, in order to be able to voice, and then be much more aggressive than actually voicing from the feminine energy. Which I also was guided to share. It goes together with the current energies and the whole preparation point that we find ourselves in, and the dissolution, because the guidance, the empowerment, and the balance and that strength is within. And that's really what's happening both with the masculine and the feminine, but from two different perspectives. So it is really about coming back to that energy. And then I was given a couple of questions that you can ask yourself if you want to sort of check in whether you are finding yourself in that core, in yourself, or if you're a bit pulled off. Or if you find yourself going into worry about what is going to happen, the fear, or the grief and fear about letting go of something, coming back to just asking yourself what is here now, because it is what is right in front of you right now that you need to attend to. That is the main focus. And what do you commit to? Are you committing to yourself? By committing to yourself, you give yourself the space to grow, the space to be, the space to expand. From that place, from an open heart and from the commitment to yourself, you will naturally flow over and be there for others, but not making yourself small or abandoning yourself out of some unbalanced program of how you should be, or putting everyone else before yourself. Commit to you and be present with what's right now in front of you. The last question they gave me was, how can I best nurture me right now? And remember to respect others that are also needing to do this in their ways, which might very well be different than your way. I hope this was helpful for you. I love hearing in your comments if it resonates, what you are experiencing, and feel free to share the video if you know people that can have help from it, or if you like it. I'm looking forward to see you in the next video. Take care of yourself, stay present, and have a beautiful day. Bye bye.